with this Prarthana sloka, Anarpita Charim Chirat Kornavati. Mahaprabhu was, oh, that's an exaggeration, what you're writing. Tells him it's an exaggeration, his own glorification. Atti stuti kore nindan. Too much glorification is another type of blasphemy. Like they had the Julia Child, the famous cook, on one American comedian show, David Letterman, and she's showing him how to cook something. She's like 70 or 80, and it requires like some Jack Daniels in the recipe. So he's holding the bottle, then he like drinks half a bottle of Jack Daniels, and he looks at her and goes, "You are one beautiful woman." You know, so that's another type, that type of glorification we understand is insincere. It's a lie that doesn't tell the truth. It's not art, right? Art is a lie that tells the truth. We're not interested in things that are factual. As Oscar Wilde says, you know, he said, even things that are true can be proven. What's so special about that? Gödel's theorem. There are many things that are true that cannot be proved. He takes it in the other direction. And blew wide apart mathematics. What does Guru Maharaj say? Quality brings us relief from mathematics. They need to go play in another location. Like we have a special playground for children. It's called the Other House. Really, I set it up just for little kids. And they can go in there. Right now, you can go in there, do it. You can poop on the floor and roll around in it. And I wouldn't care. But I would care if you kept talking during my lecture. I'm that egocentric. There's theocentric and egocentric. Theo Van Gogh and Ego Van Gogh, his lesser-known brother. Friends, Romans, lend me your ear. Oh, that was Caesar. That was not. Anyway, Gopi vision. We're not interested in seeing things with our own eyes. In Blade Runner, when the replicant meets the Chinese guy who designered his eyes, the Chinese guy in the freezer room says, "Oh, I made your eyes." And the replicant says to him, "If you could see what I've seen through your eyes." Right? It's a pun, but it's profound. So what is Krishna telling Arjuna? You need Divya Drishti, another way of seeing. When I took a Art 101 class, the art teacher, you know, she showed us famous paintings, talked for around 3 months about this stuff. And then one day, like a 3D painting, it went whoosh, and suddenly everything she was talking about was 3D for me. About vanishing point and tertiary color. Suddenly it all went 3D and I got it. And she realized it too. Like, oh, you just had that 3D thing happen. Because I listened to what she was saying, even though I couldn't understand it all in the beginning. I had some faith in my teacher that she's not bogus, that she's trying to pass on some valuable knowledge to me. Primary teachers should also be given full respect. But, so we know, when we ask a question, any question can be answered in many, many ways. Guru Maharaj will say it's like hypnotism. What Krishna is revealing to one, he's not revealing to another. That's why in his book, you might say, which one of his books? Oh, Search for Sri Krishna, Sri Guru and His Grace, Golden Volcano of Divine Love, Loving Search for the Lost Servant, Subjective Evolution of Consciousness. In those books, he explains these things. He said, what is your service? To acquire the proper angle of vision. People say, no, I mean like sweep the floor or cut the vegetable. No, that's another thing. Even that's meant to help you acquire the proper angle of vision. Oh, one thing I was going to say, where we're at in the book, I just joined the temple in San Francisco. So my birthday is on Navami. I joined on Dashami, the 10th. I'm born on the 9th on the Vedic calendar. 10th I join. Wake up on Ekadashi, and I have hair down to here, and everyone wants to cut my hair and give me a sika. So they're like, and someone goes, you can't shave on Ekadashi. But this is 1971. You can just make up stuff. So the guy with the buzzer goes, but if you're joining, it's okay. Bah! You know, like. And I felt like a liberated soul. My mother said, if you ever cut your hair, send it to me. But I thought, I'm not going to tell these guys, my mom, you know, can you just sweep that up and send it to my mom? Here's her address. They might think that's a little weird. Anyway, I feel like I'm liberated. And in those days, you have a really long hair, they'd braid your sika. Someone might say, what sika? It's a cheap one, but, you know, anyway. So, I have to go in the kitchen, it's a Ekadashi. And I think, now that I'm like dedicating myself exclusively to spiritual life, that everything you do, I think I'm in a movie, right? So at every moment, you have to be in some state of enlightened consciousness. And it's a Ekadashi. And to this day, in the temples, they serve peanuts on Ekadashi. But shelled or husked peanuts are more expensive than peanuts in the shell. So they're saying, we need you to go in the kitchen and help, what is it called? Shuck? Not, what is it? Shuck? Husk? What do you do when you break open peanuts? You're husking. So, but I think I'm in my own Fellini film, you know, so where at every gesture is enlightened, you know. I'm in a Hermann Hesse book at this point. So I go like, we break the shell, snap, to get at the substance, and I drop a peanut in the pot. Then I take another one, like, we break the shell, the outer covering, to find the substance. And the cook goes, how are we doing with those peanuts over there? like this is not going to work, man. This you know, that like, you did 5 peanuts in 15 minutes. I'm going like, hey man, I'm like concentrating, you know. No, you need to go like, you know, that's what's called seva. Not for you, it's for the deity. This isn't your own little Fellini film, Zaffarelli film, with you starring as Saint Francis, okay? You're not the lead character here. Gopi Bhartur Padakamala Udasana Udasana Udasa. You know, it's not all about you. Prabhupada says, do the needful. We need to get some things done. Just help do that. And you'll be surprised. If you put all your energy into doing seva, then when you sit down to take Krishna Nam, it's substantial, it's meaningful. The best Krishna Nam I ever chanted was at the end of the Search for Sri Krishna Reality of the Beautiful marathon, where I was telling Mahayogi Maharaj the other day, when because I edit, he edits, I edit, it goes back and forth, but then we have what we call the final edit, where we sit together in 2 chairs in front of the computer and edit each word together and agree that these are the words. So we started around 10 o'clock at night, and I just went in my room to get something. I thought it's like around 2. And I looked out and the sun had risen. It was 7 o'clock in the morning. We were like way beyond time. and time zones. And I was saying like, hey, guess, because we were in a room that didn't have any windows. Guess what? It's not 2 a.m., it's 7:30, you know, and we weren't tired. So at the end of that, when we sent the book out to be printed, I remember going before the deities and taking Krishna Nam, and I thought, oh, this is how you do it. Sevan mukhehi javaro shaimeva sportida atakshi Krishna namadi nabhavyegrayam indriye. It's way infinitely beyond the grasp of the mind, intellect, and senses. So then what are we doing? Using the mind, intellect, senses, the tongue, we're going, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. What are we doing? Just, it says in your own book that you can't vibrate the name of Krishna with your tongue. But you're going to use your tongue to do that. Didn't you read your own book? Oh, but didn't you read the second part? Sevan mukhe javaro shaimeva sportida. If it's seva, like, here's how it works. See that? Those lights were there before, right? And there was no illumination. What's the difference? What's the difference? The apparatus was there before, and there was no light. Right? The shell, everything was there. Current, I just put some current in it. Now, when there's current in it, there's illumination. Was there before, looking like a light, but no illumination. But who decides that? You or Krishna? Krishna. Sevan mukheya javaro shayameva sportida. Says, Gomer says, Shayameva here means him. He will decide whether or not that he reveals himself, as it says everywhere else. All of this stuff is consistent. It doesn't say one thing in one part, another thing in another part. Nayamatma pravachanena labhyo namedaya na bahuna srutena. The Upanishads say, you can't get this by talking about it, reading books about it, all these other things. Right? Nayamatma pravachan means like by talking too much. You talk too much. Brahma, jananto eva jananto, kim bahutya. Name Prabhu. I remember, I'll never forget this, when I got to meet Prabhupada and spend a little time with him personally. You know, he needed a new servant. So they're like testing different people. I got my 15 minutes. Thank God Prabhupada didn't pick me. So, he's probably thanking God too. But anyway, like, not him. Not him. Let him work on the press, but you know, he's not fit for this. You know. Anyway, that's when he comes to New York, and I'm in there, and I've got to serve Prabhupada prasadam. There's a little choky table. He's on one side. I bring the I'm sitting on the other side. I mean, really, I'm sitting on the other side. You might call it, I'm like getting in his face. I'm like half a meter away. There's only this table. I'm sitting on the other side in case he wants something. He's asking me a bunch of questions because he's trying to figure out, he wants to know what's going on in the New York temple. And Krishna sent me to reveal everything because I'm not going to lie to Prabhupada. I can tell you that. So he realizes, oh, Krishna has conveniently sent this boy who knows everything. So I'm not asking him questions, he's asking me questions. And we go, like, what was the meeting like? Him asking me 20 questions. Because he can understand, I know everything that's going on there. So by the time the leaders come in and start lying, he'll know what's a lie and what's the truth. He have them figured out before they even get there. So, but he's like, what do you do? I said, like, I work at ISKCON Press. I ship books to temples, but I also like preach to Indians. And he's like interested in that because he's thinking India. He's about to send 35 devotees to India. So he's putting me on the list. Oh, you like to preach to India? Yeah. Prabhupada got our visas for us. Imagine that. Prabhupada got our visas, went down to the Indian embassy, told the Indian ambassador to give these 35 people visas, and they did, and it was done. So he goes, oh, and you like preaching? And like, put him on the list. But then I said, but Prabhupada, sometimes these Indian people, they say like, I did my little Indian impersonation. They'll say like, oh, I am knowing what is Krishna. Prabhupada, he thought that was funny. And he threw his head back. He has this beautiful smile. He like, at least you're entertaining, He went, and he went, that is their disease. From the big laughter smile to this disease. Remember, his hand is like with prasadam, and that's the way he moves. Like, and he quoted that, Janantu eva janantu, the Brahma sloka. Others may say they know a lot about Krishna. I don't have much to say about this. Of course, he voices the Brahma Stuti, which contains all Gaudiya Siddhanta in it. So, acquire the proper angle of vision from whom? What, on your own? When you go to the optician, do you just go like, I'll just, not the frames, but I'll just do it myself. Okay, is this the equipment? I'll just test myself and pick my own, make my own prescription, okay? Is that okay with you? Nobody does that. You go in there, an expert examines your present vision and then creates lenses to give you proper vision. That's the way it works. You go to the Vaishnava and they assess your present, what do you call it? It's like an eye exam, but an ontological eye exam. That's right. And what does Guru Maharaj tell Gurudev? The same thing Krishna told Arjuna. Are you prepared to follow me and not your mind? And as Gurudev said, he said, I was very young, so I agreed. He said, I didn't know how difficult that could be in the future. Because we think our mind is us. Saraswati Thakur says, it's like those movies. What's that movie, Jim Carrey? Lickety-splicketed, something like that. Where these kids are orphans, and he plays, there's this evil guardian of these little orphan children. It's a really exaggerated comedy, but that's always happened. The little kids inherit wealth, and they get appointed an evil guardian. It's Lemony Snicket's or something like that. Yeah, that's important. Note that. Let the records hand, Lemony Snicket's. Right. There you go. That's what this is, titled this lecture. Lemony Snicket's, a series of unfortunate events, or the story of my life. So, and the reason I'm giving this, Saraswati Thakur says that Jiva is the child, and the evil guardian is the mind. So Jiva is like a cute little girl. The evil guardian is the mind, trying to rob Jiva of her wealth. What is her wealth? Her serving potential. And the mind saying, no, we want to do this, we want to do that, we want to do, all of these fascinating proposals, robbing Jiva of her wealth. Just like the evil guardian is saying that they're taking care of the, what's the word? The ward in their care, because they've not achieved majority. So he said, when you're in a position of minority, the mind, like an evil guardian, is plundering the wealth of the jiva. You only achieve majority to the connection with Guru. Tasmad Gurum Prapadeta Jigyasu Shreya Uttamam. Shabde Puri Chanishnatam Brahmanu. Someone who's fixed. That's why you tie the seek at the lotus feet of Guru. You're going to get blown around by the waves of circumstance. And what was it? Unfortunate events? Maya, you're going to get blown around by a series of unfortunate events. So you've got to be anchored to the lotus feet of Guru. Doesn't mean you have to be perfect. You just have to be anchored. The boat gets blown this way and that way, but if it's tied to the dock, when the storm's over, it'll still be in a safe position. It's something like that. So I don't have the energy right now talking about 10 offenses. You can read about it. I've spoken about it 100 times. You can watch any lecture. Most important thing to understand, Krishna consciousness is about devotees. It's not about you, about me. It's about being under the guidance of a devotee. That's the only way you get devotion. Not by chanting or not chanting or dancing or not dancing or moving this way or moving that way. You only get this in connection with someone who's got it. Everything else is a detail. That's Srila Govinda Maharaj's way. You get Krishna consciousness by associating with him. He knows that. Even if he says, change the channel, turn the light on and off, you'll get Krishna consciousness from turning that light on and off. He's like that. I don't say I'm like that, but he's not only who he is, but he considers me his friend. So that's my friend. I told someone, they misunderstood what I said. I said all of the disciples of Gurudev, because I'd already lost Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj, I said, now they're going to know what it's like to lose your guru. I said, but as for me, I was just speaking candidly. I said, I'm not losing my guru. I'm losing my friend, my best friend. This is different for me this time around. And whether somebody can get their head around that or not, I really couldn't care less. And I could say something, quoting another person at this point right now, and I won't. I will resist that. Because there's also vacho vegam, manasakrota vegam, jiva vegam. You know, you can't just say anything and everything in the name of Krishna consciousness, if it's not seva. But even in the court, they're talking about this one man. I won't mention who he was, but it's like someone once was telling this joke about that, or saying horrible things about an airline. He said, I'm not going to give you the name of the airline, but the initials are TWA. Like, I won't tell you the name of the airline, but the initials are KLM. Anyway, the man's on the stand, and they go, what are your impressions? It was about like the leader of a particular religious institution. And the guy goes, he was a fraud in the womb of his mother. At conception, he was a fraud. That's class, to say something like that, in my opinion. So, why did I say that? Because... Talking about losing Govinda Maharaj. Oh, right, yeah. So I'm saying, like, if somebody doesn't get it, or you're like... a hardcore, irrevocable neophyte who refuses to advance to the next position, which means recognizing Vaishnavata and others and gradations. I told you, Krishna consciousness is all focused on a devotee. Then there's recognizing third class, second class, first class, and all varieties in between. And you don't get it, you can't get it, you're the type of idiot who, when the guru and disciple, the story, they're going along the cart, things are falling off the cart, Disciple keeps going, and Guru says, why don't you pick those up? He doesn't get it. Right, so then Guru says, look, I'm going to make a list. Anything on this list falls off the cart, you pick it up, put it back on the cart. Jai Gurudev, Kripa Bindu Diya Koroe, you know, like, they're going along, you know. Then there come a big rocky place, and the Guru falls off the cart. And the disciple keeps going on. And the Guru goes, hey, what about me? And the disciple says, you're not on the list. So if you're like that, the only thing that comes to my mind is Guru Maharaj riffing on the famous expression, God save us from our enemies, God save us from our friends. You know. The train's pulling out of the station. You know, soon you have to make a choice. You know. This one woman said to a friend of mine once in the North Beach Cafe, said, well, I don't think you have to go overboard. And he said, I'd rather go overboard than have never have gotten on the boat. That's my philosophy. I'd rather risk going overboard than have never have gotten on the boat. So there comes a tide in the lives of men, as Shakespeare says, when taken at its, what is it? Ebb, I forget, the flow, ebb and flow, you know. Saying, if this one opportunity comes in your life, saying, if you recognize it for what it is and take it, you'll sail to new worlds. And if you don't read it properly and don't understand what is in front of you, he said, you'll forever be in the shallows, lamenting. You missed that opportunity. Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasadi Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. That's what this is about. As I told this kid in Italy, like who was talking about initiation and the internet and some Baba, some bogus guy with a website. There's always some bogus guy with a website. It's $9.95 a month. Right? Not just the guy from Nutley, New Jersey, but anybody. As the New Yorker cartoon says, it shows this dog at a keyboard in front of a monitor, and there's a little dog, like a puppy, you know, who's like very impressed and looking up, and the big dog says, the little dog, he goes, on the internet, no one knows you're a dog. So you get it, right? Anyway, he's like, I'm realizing I'm not going to continue this conversation. So Krishna Kanda says, oh, he wants to talk. Sergey wants to talk to you again. I go, what do you want to talk to me about? And there's a picture of Guru Maharaj, Srila Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, and Srila Govinda Maharaj. And suddenly, I just hear my mouth saying some things. I'm like listening to myself say something. And I started saying that. I said, do you know who I am? And he's like, no. I said, I'm the person who can give you a connection with these three people. With Bhakti Rakhak Sri B.S.Goswami, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and Srila Govinda Maharaj. That's what makes me maybe a little different than anyone else. When I connect somebody, I'm connecting you to all three of these people, these personalities. I said, that's what I do, that's what I can do. I can do that for you. Do you want that or not? And of course, now he's Sundarananda. So that's what you could say anything I think about something my father said about my mother. About himself. He said, and I'll tell you my version of it regarding, he said, because he did many checkered things in his life, and he said, I don't know what you think about me. He said, but I found the best woman in the world to be your mother. You going to argue with him about that? So I could say to people, I don't know what you think about me or whatever, but I have the three best people of all time that I can connect you with, give you a spiritual connection with them. Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj, and Gurudev. Silence is golden. They should learn to play deaf mute. Say, we're going to play a game where you pretend like you can't hear and you can't speak. It's fun. Or let's play Helen Keller. No, I love little kids. They asked W.C. Fields, how do you like children? He went, boiled. They say never play a scene with a child or an animal in Hollywood. Never be on camera with a child or an animal. You just can't compete with them. That's why. It's not that I dislike them. They know. I play with Derek all the time. He told me the other day all the different people who love him, and that there's this one person who doesn't love him. And I said, why? He goes, I don't know. Everybody else loves me, but, you know, for some reason he doesn't. What are you going to do? He's been, the earth has gone around the sun 4 times for him. 4 times. And you can talk to him. He can come here. He can bow down before the deity. I saw Armat and hi, how you doing? You okay? Like, you know, the babushka, the grandma, her daughter, like maybe 3 generations of these. They all go to Gandharva Govinda Sundar Navadip, and the pujari is giving 3 generations Charanamritam. All their palms, 3 generations of palms extended, like that. That's what you're supposed to do. Gurudev said he heard all these wonderful stories that he never read anywhere from the ladies in the village telling stories about Krishna. And then he realized later, oh, some of these stories are in the Garga Sangita, because they're really weird, they're strange, they're not the way you normally hear it. Like the Avadut loves the thing about Govardhan, where he's like a mountain and he flies in. I mean, it's just, you know, all right. Yeah. But Garga Sangita, some Sahajya A.H., like Hitler, but anyway, said, I doubt whether Garga Sangita is an authentic scripture. Oh, gee, you do, Mr. Sanskrit, you know, guy, you know, from Holland. He knows everything, you know. Oh, he studied Sanskrit, Advaita, woo, woo, woo. You know, Sanatana Goswami thinks it's a bona fide book, kid. Okay, in his Brihad Bhagavatamritam Teek, says the Bhagavatam, the Uttarakhanda of the Padma Purana, Garga Sangita. But you don't. Right. You don't. Because you studied Sanskrit. They introduced this man to Guru Maharaj and they go, he knows Sanskrit. So Guru Maharaj starts talking conversational Sanskrit to him. Like, how are you, where are you coming? The guy didn't know what he's talking about. Then we learn what kind of Sanskrit he knows. In the presence of someone who actually knew. Guru Maharaj's aunties spoke Sanskrit. They can compose Sanskrit, the women in the family. Don't try this nonsense with him. Sanatana Goswami says the truth, not some Sahajya wannabe hanging out in Radha Kunda, revering those who are less than venerable, revering those who say, Selecting a sexual partner for Manjari Swarup sadhana is as important as selecting a guru. You were a fraud at the moment of conception. Frauds at the moment of conception. You're misconceived. You can be misconceived. So we're back to the original point. Acquiring the proper angle of vision. The sloka I quoted, it's from the angle of vision of the Braja Gopis. How do they see Giriraj Govardhan? Hantaya Madralabala Haridasa Varja. Haridas Varja, the best of the Haridasas. Sometimes they say there are 3 Haridasas. Uddhava, Haridas Thakur, Brahma Haridas, I forget. Well, no, it's some other one, but anyway. But he's Haridas Varja, the best. Haridas means servant of Hari. How? Yad Rama Krishna Charana Sparasha Pramoda. Pramod means ecstatic joy. When Krishna and Balaram are walking on Govardhan, he's ecstatic and herding the cows. Yad Rama Krishna Charana. Their lotus feet, Krishna Charana. Sparasha Pramoda. At the touch of the lotus feet, makes Giriraj very happy. Pani Yasuya Vasakanda Rakanda Mule. And he's providing sweet water, sweet ponds, so the cows can drink the sweet, like hapania, and produce sweet grasses for them. So he's really serving. So and they say kandara kandamulai. There are caves in Govardhan, and that's in Garga Samhita, that they have jeweled they're illumined by jewels, they have incredible bedrooms, they have like things beyond your imagination. That the Gopis don't say much about, just that there are caves on Govardhan. Gupta. So that verse is spoken from their vision. We're told this is all about Gopi Bhav, Gopi vision, seeing things the way they do, not we believe their way of seeing over our own eyes. That's true. So Giriraj is here, and his devotees are here, and proceed under the guidance of his devotees and serve him. And like a cowherd, he gives Krishna Nam the way they make cows. It's not Brahmin cow, Vaishya cow, Shudra cow. But what is the famous sloka, Lakshmi Dar? Rupa Goswami, in his sloka collection, Akrishti Kritachetasam Sumanasam Uchchatanam Changasang Achchandala Amuka Loka Sulabo Basha Shamukti Shriya No Diksham Nachasatrikam Na Purushcharjamana Gikshate Mantro Yam Rasanas Prageva Palati Sri Krishna Namatmaka. But it has this part about a mukha, means someone who's dumb. And I used to think like, oh gee, they don't get the holy name? That's not what he's saying. I only understood this in the last month. What he's saying, because I used to think, because we have that one girl in Tomsk who's mute, remember? Right. So I thought, gee, you mean the mute don't get, that's not what he's saying. I got this in the last month. What he's saying, who will not, this name is so wonderful and beautiful and delivers everything. Who would not chant the name? The only way you could not possibly vibrate the holy name of Krishna is if you were dumb and unable to speak. That, he's not saying they can't have the holy name. He's just saying, the only person who would not break out an ecstatic rapture taking the name of Krishna is someone who's incapable of speech. That's what he's saying. It's very extreme what's being said there. Mantro yoga. But he's saying, it's Krishna's desire to spring out of the soil of your heart. Krishna should be allowed to land in our hearts. Then he'll spring out of the soil of your heart. That's bolete in Bhaktivinoda's song, Sharanagati. So, without further ado, so just come and be right here. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna. And also sometimes people go like, jap means silent. Really, you're supposed to make some sound like, Guru Maharaj, when he chants japa, he goes, that's how he chants. Like aspirated. Others spot. Remember spotavad? Spot. You should like at least go. But there's also manasik. So there, someone tried to ask Guru Maharaj, which is the best one? He said, it's not that one or the other is best. He said, is there any spiritual quality to it? That's what's important. Not that it's loud, but I heard oud kirtan, loud kirtan. Well, you know, does it have a spiritual quality? Is it Vaikuntha Nama Grahanam? Sevan Mukhe, is it service? Or is it just parroting? Sukha means parrot, two ways to parrot. Mindlessly or tasting with love and affection. That type of that parroting we like. There are fruits in India. You can see the parrot's beak on the fruit. Some people buy those because they go, oh, those will taste sweeter. It's already been tasted by a parrot. Suk. And another way of putting this is like, you want your choices made by someone who has taste, who has good taste. Wouldn't you want that for anything else? Someone who has good taste should make the choice. Hare Krishna. So first chant, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda, because they brought, Panchatattva brought down the holy name, Golokera Premadana Harinam Sankirtana. And Panchatattva mantra is not in any book. Interesting. It's not in any book anywhere. Guru Maharaj said it's part of the paraphernalia of the Panchatattva, their own mantra. And sometimes Guru Maharaj would go, Nitai Gaur Gadadhar Advaita Srivas. I like that. It's like Nitai Gaur Gadadhar Advaita Srivas. He chanted that a lot. But here we chant Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. But I like the one Nitai first. Nitai Gaur Gadadhar Advaita Srivas. You get the idea. Then you start with the large beads. Gopis, just do what they do. That's what Gurudev does. He's just like them. When I realized his style of humor, the only place I saw that style of humor was in the Mukta Charita of Raghunath Das Goswami. I was going, this is just like Govinda Maharaj. No wonder they're taking him up and taking him in, because he can contribute something there. That's what this is all about. Anyway, you chant on the Tulsi Mala. Gurudev said in SoCal once, he goes, maybe I did something wrong and Krishna doesn't like me. He said, but if I hold the lotus feet of Tulsi Devi and take his name, then I have some hope. He said, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. When I'd hear Prabhupada chant, it used to blow my mind. he had his way. And when I heard Guru Maharaj chant, blew my mind, but the other prophets, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare, sit properly, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, We used to listen out in Jagannath Express. They'd put that on the sound system. Every now and then you hear, sit properly, and a bunch of Russians go like, all right, yeah, all right, sorry, buddy, because he saw a devotee, Americans, they just slouch on anything. That's how you know who an American is. See what he's doing right now? He's just doing it. That's it. A European would not do that. Europeans don't lean on walls, chewing on straws and stuff. Anyway, sit properly. So that was Prabhupada. But Guru Maharaj is like, like that. And that also blew my mind. And Govinda Maharaj in between. No one alive has heard him chant japa. I saw him with his bead bag in St. Petersburg one morning. I did a double take. I thought but still, don't miss it. He's a Raga Bhakta. He's situated in Krishna Nam. He's not a practitioner like, oh, I got to do my rounds. I'm really behind. When I met Giriraja in New York, he picked him out in the airport. He goes, I got to make up 78 rounds. I go that's probably not going to happen, huh? Considering your schedule. But Govinda Maharaj, lest someone thinking it doesn't have utter love and affection for the holy name. Once when he thought he was going to die, the first thing that he goes call me, Maharaj. He's got to go to his 2008, I think, the hospital, and he takes his mala and puts it right on his heart. And goes, now I'm ready to go to the hospital. So he's situated in Krishna Nam. When this man, Dr. Guha, stayed at his house in Delhi preaching for a week, every night he gives these lectures. He's like Gaudiya Mat Grihastha, full-blown deity worship in the house. He listens every night to my lectures and doesn't say a word. And I'm going does he agree, disagree, not agree? What's going on here? So at the end of the third night, he goes, I go, any questions? And he says, do you know Babaji Maharaj? I said, which one? Krishnadas Babaji. Which one? Gaudiya Mat. Why, yes, I do. He said he never stays with any grihastha, but he stays with us. He said, do you want to see his room? I go, yeah. We go upstairs, shows the room, there's his mridanga on the wall. I go, wow, can I touch his mridanga? Yep. And he said, he was very sick this winter. Remember, the man's a doctor. So he stayed with us extra long and very sick. He normally stays up all night chanting the holy name and singing. One child at somebody's house once where he stayed said that she, in the middle of the night, saw a golden lady come and listen to Babaji Maharaj sing. Anyway, so the man says to me, after he was sick for 2-3 weeks, so I thought should give him an examination. Said, so I got my stethoscope out and put it on his heart, and I'm listening. He said, this man who was super grave, he goes, but there was no heartbeat. He goes, but I heard kol and kartals and this Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare, this Hare Nam Sankirtan through the stethoscope. That's what was coming out of Babaji Maharaj's heart. These people do exist. Gurudev's one of them. How many offenses we committed just thinking he's an ordinary person. And he's tolerating it. So the idea is to take Krishna Nam every day, but you have to have some service connection. Otherwise, it's all just a show. It's and you need to reconceive yourself along the lines of a aspiring servitor. So your spiritual name will be Anandini Devi Dasi. Hare Krishna. And Ananda, Krishna's Ananda Murti, he's Anandam, means ecstasy personified. That's good news for us, right? He's the unlimited reservoir of Anandam. Ananda Lila Maya Vigrahaya. Ananda, everything. What about for Krishna? Can anyone give him happiness? Radharani makes Krishna happy. Actually, she's doing all of this just to make Krishna happy. So she's Anandini. She's giving joy to Krishna. If you keep Krishna happy, we're all in good shape. If Krishna loses it, we're in trouble. But he does lose it. Hare! We hear Krishna's a great thief. Radharani's she can steal the great thief. The guy is famous for stealing anything and everything. She can, Hare, steal the mind of Krishna with her self-giving, her seva, her feminine qualities. Anandita, she's giving pleasure personified, pleasure and happiness. So much so that he starts thinking, wonder what it's like to be her. I think it could even be better than being me. See, even God has doubts. It's okay. So then he becomes Mahaprabhu. Ananda Lila Maya Vigrahaya. Hey Maba. Divyat Chavisundaraya. Tasmai Mahaprema Rasa Pradaya. Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste. Then Krishna realizes, wow, it's better to be a devotee than be God himself. That's the view. We always think you're getting sold a false bill of goods, like, all right, I mean, the bad news is you're just a servant, but if you just tough it out after a while, that's so stupid. Krishna himself has descended as Mahaprabhu to verify it's more enjoyable to be a devotee than to be God. That's how good it is. So, and Guru Maharaj, Gurudev, Prabhupada, they're the real agents of that higher reality, and I'm connecting you with them. So, Anandini Devi Dasi Ki Jai. Take that. Hey Krishna. Oh, yeah, here, give it back to me. Ha ha ha. Indian giver. It can be withdrawn also, remember that. So you have to serve. Hare Krishna. Just all you have to do is say, Etat Pushpam Sri Gurave Namaha. And then offer the flowers. Then pick this up and say, Etat Sarvam Sri Gurave Namaha. Hare Krishna. Just put it over in front of Giriraj. Now, give Dandavat. Bow down. Your head should touch the ground. Take these beads, Hare Krishna, and my goodwill and best wishes. You're associated with a great devotee, very dear to me, very dear to Srila Govinda Maharaj and all of his servitors, so you're positioned very well. You're the first person to be initiated here in Gupta Govardhan, Giriraj's first victim. That's what Gurudev said. What did he say once? Something like that. Oh, about who he'd make the next Acharya would be his next victim. I mean, people don't understand. Acharya Maharaj has a great sense of humor. Once he said, there's a famous sloka in the Brahma Samhita, in the Bhagavatam it says, if you execute your swadharma perfectly for 100 lifetimes, you're qualified to be Brahma. Beyond that, Shivata. Not Shiva, Shivata, like Shiva. And then Acharya Maharaj said, but if there's some fault in the execution of your duties, he goes, they make you a mott manager. So people, they think like, he's hilarious if you give him a chance. And I just offended him like heavily to get his attention. Women do this all the time. I don't know why everybody's getting on my case. The guy's going, do we have to have this argument now? We're in a rush. Yes, we have to talk about it now. Okay. No, it's not okay. I agree with you. Stop agreeing with me. So there are different ways to get people's attention. I got his attention. We embraced in Calcutta, took prasadam, just, laughed it all off. He knows what time it is, what's going on. Give him some credit. You're insulting him by your defense. Your defense is that he's an idiot or a moron who doesn't get it. No, he's smarter than that, people. He does get it. He knows who I am. I know who he is. We worked it all out. He understood what I was doing. I understand what he's doing. We're cool. You be cool. I'll be seeing you. There'll be some guy like running the tape back and forth trying to figure it out. I'm no longer the prisoner of white people's heaven, white people's jail, otherwise known as World Club Land. And soon I will liberate Giriraja. He can be wherever he wants, and he is. I'm everywhere, I'm nowhere. Read Bhagavad Gita. It doesn't matter where Giriraja is. It matters where I am. I will not go back to that white people's jail, which is just an insult to the people of Thailand. I realize that. That's why I don't know any Thai after 4 years. I've learned more Thai in living here for 5 days than being over in the white people's jail. And how could hell even be worse? Your cellmate's a fundamentalist Christian. In John 3:16, let's not go there. How do you like Christians? Boiled. Some good Catholic humor. Colosseum, No, I'm a Mary fan. Where I come from, it's all about Mary, Mother Maria. Because in her we find some hope. It's like the Grand Inquisitor told Jesus, but for you and your saint friends, who can do all this stuff? Brother, sun, sister, moon, St. Francis, come on. But with Mary, you get all the mercy. And Mary's like Radharani, guru, feminine principle. We can take shelter of Mary and get some hope. But all these Jesus guys, they're just like hard-ass about wanting to enforce laws on everybody. Mary's not about that. So I was born in the month of Mary, which is May. Aurora, she brought me a very beautiful Mary statue I have upstairs in my altar. And I chanted my first Krishna Nam on a rosary. They just brought me some wooden beads. So Mary's got a special place in my heart. I like Jesus too, but I like his mom more. Because he's a bit of a fanatic at times, and I never saw her behaving like a fanatic. And Mary Magdalene, I like those types, not the walk on water group and all that. Like Leonard Cohen says, and Jesus was a sailor, and he was sure only drowning men could save them. He said, all men will be sailors, and I'm not into the miracles thing. like Prabhupada said, if you can change somebody's heart, melt it with Krishna consciousness, that's the miracle we're interested in. Not if you can lift this or that. My brother did all those things to me when we were a kid. These tricks that I fell for every trick he ever. Let's see who can hit the easiest. And I'd go. And then he'd go, you won. That's all they're doing to us. Seducing jiva for wealth again and again. If your heart can melt with love and affection for Krishna's devotees, you get everything. That's what this is about. Hare Krishna. And now we have a little kirtan for Giriraj. Maybe you don't want to scare the neighbors. He can see everything. It's not like you got to go like, and here's the walk-in closet. You know, I mean, he's omniscient. So, we'll save the parikrama for later, I think. Because I think I've run over. I see someone going. That's what they do in TV. They go, that they don't do. That's too cruel. They go, wind it up. That means wind it up. With Hari Charan, in India, I've seen, they actually pull the rug. They go like that. The guy's talking, and you go, because you feel your... And then he'd always go, Ek Bindu Jagat Dubai. Means one drop of this substance is enough to inundate the whole universe. I love that. I always think of Hari Charan that way, and you know him. Ek Bindu Jagat. It's from Charitamritam. One drop of this. So here, this is for her. Hare Krishna. And this place is just totally mystical. Where's the umbrellas? Bring them. They're for Giriraj. I found these umbrellas. I was just walking around. I walk around here every day just looking for stuff. Look at these. I found these. They're like, you're supposed to have like, when he goes around, like two guys, standing on the side. But non-Africans, something like that. Jai. Jai, Giriraj Govardhan ki jai. See, and Guru Maharaj. Okay, someone else grab one. Yeah. As my mom said about me, I have two brothers, she said, Philly was the last one to start talking. But once he started, he never stopped. So I just have to, it's better I just stop. Jai, Om Vishnupad, Srila Bhakti, Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Oh, you could use one for Gurudev and one for Guru Maharaj. Jai, Srila Bhakti Rakak, Sridhar Dev Goswami. Just, it doesn't have to be exact. Bhakti Rakak, Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Giriraj Govardhan ki Jai. Gupta Govardhan ki Jai. Bhakti Bimala Badut Maharaj ki Jai. Maybe a little angle. Yeah. I don't want it to fall this way. This is a little precarious. Okay. Jai Giriraj Govardhan ki Jai. Bhakti Nirmala Charja Maharaj ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswati.